I don't know. I feel like I'm very judgmental of a couple of aspects of healthcare and providers, and then I'm relatively apathetic about the rest of it. Like my big thing is bedside manner in general, but it's not just bedside manner. It's more if I come to see you, do I feel like you're trying to rush out of the office or do I feel like you're going to answer my questions even if I can tell you're busy and rushed? There's a difference there. And if I feel like you're going to make sure you uh, address any concerns I have or ask if I have any questions or anything else, even if you're noticeably trying to get through it quickly, but you're trying to take the time to make sure that I don't have anything lingering, that's a big thing for me. Um, and then the other piece is just accessibility. If I need a doctor, I need a doctor within 24 hours. I'm not waiting 3 to 5 days to get in for a sick visit. That's not healthcare.
Right, right.
And that's it. Like those are my two really big things. Outside of that, I'm fairly comfortable with like most providers.
I spent a lot of my life just not, I would go to the doctor for just the things that, once I was on my own insurance, I would go to the doctor for minimal things because my dad was a doctor, and it's like, oh, I have this thing, and he would say, oh yeah, this is what you need. You want me to call in a prescription for you? And I was like, yeah, sure, that's great. And that was how I spent my whole life until just a couple of years ago. And I think it's been like 3 years now. So now I'm like having to do like what the rest of everyone does, and yeah, I get what you're talking about. I was gonna say I liked my doctor. Like I did tell you last week that I liked him. One of the things I liked about him was that I was like, I can go on their website and find the next available appointment without having to talk to anybody. And every time I've looked, and that's been like a couple of times this year, I've been able to find something within like sometimes next day. So that was really nice.
Yeah, and like for me, it's not even, obviously if you're sick, you want it as fast as possible. But like I recognize also if it's, 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I start looking, I'm not expecting to be seen same day.
Right.
If I
Right.
can, great. But like that's not reality. Reality is, okay, sometime tomorrow I should expect to be able to get an appointment.
Yes.
And so that's one of the things that with the Sil Harris Clinic, they proudly talk about same day or next day appointments available for that reason. Like that's apparently one of their big
They
trying to
probably
make
have
sure
been.
they're staffed appropriately.
Yeah, I was gonna say they probably have enough, enough data for, um, based on how much staff that they have and what season it is to know how many slots do we need to open for well visits and how many slots do we need to have available for unwell visits. And anyway, yeah. So healthcare. We've been on a healthcare kick on this, and I do have like a bit of an update from last week.
I'm anxious to hear it.
Say that again.
So I'm anxious to hear it.
Oh yeah. So I picked this up yesterday. I just sent you a picture, and I was able to get the medicine. I still have more work to do about this, but I had my doctor call this in. I mentioned, I said a coupon last time, but I had applied for a savings card, and that was pretty easy. You just go online, apply for the savings card. Here's the thing that you can print, and so the pharmacy was interesting. The amount that the company that manages prescriptions said from them it was going to be this much, and from like if you want to go to a Walgreens, it's going to be like, it was like for them they were like it's $300 a month. And then I was like, that's too much, and I found out about this cost savings card and went to the went to the I went to Walgreens, and they said, oh, it was going to be half, so it was like $150 for a month, and I'm like, and I said, oh, cool, I've got the savings card, and they said they applied the savings card, and they're like, it's going to be $1,200 a month.
Wrong direction.
That's exactly what I thought, and so I was like, okay, so I decided, I was like, okay, well, I will pay $150 and see what I can work out, just because I'm going to get started on it. And it may be that, it very well could be that only certain, because I know that with some medication someone else I know takes, that only certain pharmacies participate with like a savings something. So having to search around, but I wanted to get started on it, and I did. And so I'm still somewhat, I'm going to actually contact Walgreens and be like, hey, because all the two people that were at the pharmacy seem really confused about it. So I'm actually going to call Walgreens and see. It's like, if the first month cost me $150, then so be it. I wouldn't want to do that for an extended period of time, but I'm going to contact Walgreens and see if, like, did they just do something wrong, or like, is there something else that I need, what other thing do I need in my life to make this work? And so if they say, yeah, hey, it doesn't really, we don't do anything with the savings card, then I will find a pharmacy that does. So that's where I am.
I'm glad you at least worked out to get started.
Yeah, I know.
So is it, and this is just me ignorant because I haven't actually researched anything with the medication. So is it like 4 doses a month? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's a weekly dose. It's really interesting. It is. It's interesting. It needs to be refrigerated, but it needs to be refrigerated it needs to be refrigerated. It can't be frozen, but if you take it out of the refrigerator, it is stable at room temperature for 3 weeks, so 21 days. And my friend was telling me it's also really flexible. If it's a once a week dosage injection. It's an injection, and it's a really tiny needle, like very high gauge. So it's much smaller. It might be one of the smallest gauge needles smallest needles I've seen, because it's quite a bit smaller than the finger prick that they do to collect blood at the doctor's office or whatever. And it's a nice little device in the sense that most people don't know how to inject themselves with something safely, and so it's in like this. They call it a pen because it's shaped like a pen, and it's got a locking mechanism, and there's a whole thing. So you take the cap off when you're ready to use it. There are 3 points of the body where you can apply it, either the thigh, the belly, or the back of the arm, because it's got to be it's a subcutaneous injection. You place it. The needle won't move. There's a button that you push, and once you push, first you have to unlock it. There's a collar at the top, and you swivel it to unlock it, and then you hold down the button for 10 seconds. You hear it. It makes like a click noise, and it injects you. It pushes the medicine into your body, and then it clicks again, and it retracts the needle. Super easy. It really couldn't be harder to do. It really couldn't be easier to do. At least for an injection. But then you have to dispose of the whole apparatus, and it feels a bit wasteful to do that. And so I would love it. It'd be great if they could pull the needle out and recycle it. But I would expect that it's probably more expensive to try to reuse them than it would be to just manufacture new ones.
Probably. Just thinking about how far we've come with injectable technology in general. Because I would think the only other option would be doing something like, I guess diabetics would be most accustomed to it with insulin. But then, like you're having to worry about, what's the word? I'm losing it. sterile needles, making sure the needles maintain a sterile environment and swapping them out and everything else. And I could see that being more problematic overall. Like for the average user, I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it's like needles, it seems obvious to me that how needles, you can't really recycle those. I mean, I guess you could recycle them in the sense that, I don't know, it just seemed,
Well, I would assume you would just melt them down and reuse the material.
Well, yeah, but you have to,
metals.
Yeah, but you'd have to have something that cuts it, because there's also plastic, the needles and, the plastic tip that attaches to the syringe.
I'm pretty sure plastic melts at a lower temperature than metal, though. Like, that's one of those things where I can see separating it via heat would be probably doable.
Well, it's one of those things. It's just that there's so much stuff that's manufactured in everywhere in this world that is manufactured for single use, and there's not a lot of manufacturing for multiple use. And, it's one thing to be able to baby carrots. That's a thing that I found fascinating when I found out about baby carrots, because I thought, I was like, why do, like, is baby carrots just really that important? And apparently it is, because I think that the guy there's a farmer in California who developed the process for producing baby carrots, because I want to say my memory may be failing me, but I want to say about 70% of his carrot crop was unsellable because it wasn't pretty. And that's a significant amount of work to put in, and only, you farm anything and you can only sell 30% of your crop. That's pretty bleak. And so
it's pretty low yield. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he developed a way to take the ugly carrots and make them pretty. Like, he's basically shaving carrots down to what you get in a package of baby carrots, and he was able to sell way more of his carrots and charge a premium for it, and revolutionize the carrot industry, as it were. I mean, honestly, when was the last time you thought about produce? Well, produce is, I say, when was the last time you think about produce being revolutionized? But I'm sure it happens way more than we realize. But he did revolutionize carrot farming and carrot manufacturing, carrot crops. So yeah, so it just seems like there's going to be a point in time where, and I imagine this is going to be similar to climate change, but there's going to need to be a shift in how things are manufactured, and they're going to have to be more sustainable. People are talking about it, but you think about the largest companies in the world, and they're definitely not doing it. So
it's funny you mentioned it. I saw a meme today I don't remember seeing it before, or technically it was a cartoon, but same concept, right? And had people at a conference for climate change, and there was a bunch of stuff on the board talking about the different effects of climate change, and there was a guy in the audience, and the bubble was, but what if we accidentally make it a better place for no reason?
What if we made a better place for what?
For no reason. and I have never seen something summarize anti-climate activists so well. Because realistically, that's the argument, right? The argument is, no, I don't want to make it better, because what if there's no reason to make it better? Well, there's always a reason to make it better. It's called making it better.
Hey, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, all of a sudden I heard this and then there's no audio from your side.
I've noticed it kind of fading out when you've been talking. I don't know if that's on my end or your end or some combination thereof, but I assume that it's just something with the FaceTime connection.
That's what it has. You've gone in and out a few times, and it doesn't seem to be related to anything over here. I'm assuming it's something between you and me, the FaceTime connection. But what was the last? I heard you say that why don't we just make the world a better place for no reason?
And I just hadn't seen it like anti and climate activists summarized so well, where it's Well, I need a reason to make things better, and the reason is making things better. Like that's the whole point. You can't make things better and it be accidentally worse than was before.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of reminds me of the leave no trace principles. I was thinking about this, and because I have some strong feelings about um, people that go out and assemble rock piles. I am of a, you know,
You're anti-cairn.
no, cairns have a purpose. Cairns mark trails. Cairns have been, at some point, if something is old enough, then it's considered valuable. Even, but, I'm all for a cairn that marks a trail. I'm all for, what, somebody ancient enough put these pile of rocks here, and now we consider that valuable. It's like, when you look at cave paintings from, men, for humans that are, 100,000 years ago, it's like, ooh, but you know what? That could be like graffiti. If it wasn't so old, it would be considered graffiti, I'm pretty sure. But because, I think we don't consider graffiti, not just because it's old, but because it was the only amount of communication that we have from groups of people that lived that long ago. So, there's some relative, there's some difference there. But rock piles, I don't mind when people make rock piles, but I know people come and say, here there's like, they'll give the environmental reason why it's not good. And I get that, and it definitely doesn't support leave no trace. But I'm not so much. It's not so much upsetting that people make rock piles; it's that they leave the rock piles. And I've seen enough rock piles in rivers and places where it's just like it's I find it really unsightly. And so for no other reason, it's like, I just don't want to see your goddamn rock pile. I was like, if you want to do it and be cool and take a picture with it, that's great. Picture will last you. But I don't care about your rock pile, and I think that you should disassemble it when you're done.
Interesting. I'll have to find. I took a picture when we were in Ireland at the Cliffs of Moher. There was a rock pile that was done that I found intriguing because it was done where water pooled and created a neat little reflection where you could see the landscape in the background in a way that I thought was really unique. And it's not like there were a bunch of different rock piles. It was just this one. And of course, I have no clue how old it was anyway. It may very well have been old. But that would be an example of where I find it not problematic and something that kind of adds to the enjoyment of the outdoor experience. But I also see the counterpoint to that because it's fairly subjective from an aesthetic perspective. If there's this one and only this one that adds some element of intrigue or interest to an area, but then if you start seeing them every mile or two, that's problematic.
I sent a picture of one that just really exemplifies the one that I don't like, the ones I don't like. Like you're going down the river,
a whole bunch of them in an area.
Yeah, there's like a dozen of them, like right there in the river, and it's like I came here to not see things, made by people.
Yeah, and this is where I'm like in principle I'm agreeing and right, but there's that somewhat devil's advocate argument of what's the line? Is the line that it's just this one that maybe is added to or modified over time, or does it require a lot of kind of subjective, does this fit the environment, or is it just always not okay,
It very well could be that I just think that's trashy because it's a whole bunch of them and they're small and they're not that interesting. Whereas what you've described that you saw at the Cliffs of Moher, is it Moe or Moore?
It's technically pronounced Moe, yeah.
Moe. Like Moe, the bartender in The Simpsons?
Correct.
But is it spelled M-O-R or M-O-H-R?
Moher.
Okay. So it very well could be that I'm a snob, and if I saw something that was tastefully done, I'd appreciate it, because I can think of, I remember seeing an art installation that was assembled out in the middle of the woods, I think in Poland, and it just seemed really cool. It was whimsical, and it was lovely. And if I was hiking in that forest and I came upon it, I would be like, oh, that's really cool. But again, it was like I said, it was interesting. It was whimsical. It was not mundane, or, there was there was a value there. This is all subjective, but I felt like it would have added value to my excursion in the forest.
I did find the image I was looking for, so I sent it to you. This was the only one that was in the area. It's not like there were multiple. And this one, because of the location and the way it was done, to me it felt like it just added an interesting element to the experience.
Not being from there, I would leave that alone. But if I saw that in like any of the local rivers here, I'd definitely be kicking it down.
Yeah, that's where I was saying, like, you also can't tell. I have no doubt it's not that old. It just doesn't seem like it is. And I don't truly know that.
Right. See, that's where it's like, I'm a guest of, like if I'm in another country, like, I'm going to behave differently. But also because I don't know the culture. I don't know, when I say culture, I also mean the culture in the sense of, like, I don't know what people of 2024 are doing over there. And so if I came across something like this there, I'd be like, I don't like it. But, well, I also can't, I don't necessarily know that I can see, I say I don't like it, but it's, I'm not there with the rest of the surrounding. But it is, it's a thing that if I saw here, because I understand how many people do this, I'd probably disassemble. If I saw that here, I would disassemble it, because I know that it's not old. And as much as that you have assembled it, I also have the right to disassemble it.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
But being a guest in another country, then no, I will leave that alone.
And it just goes back to, it's kind of an interesting question of when is it problematic and when is it, something that just adds to an area. Because I could, not saying that this is, of course, the case, but I could see where, like, the image that I took, it being the only one in the entire area that we found, could very well be something that people locally add to and subtract from as a part of their experience in the area. It's something that there's no way for us to know without just asking around, of course. But it had that look of, this was not something that annoyed locals, because locals tend to be pretty vocal and pretty quick to disassemble or move or change things if it's problematic.
Yeah, it also didn't look like it was very small. It looked like there's some amount of significance to it.
It was decently sized. I'd say it was probably about 2 feet tall. I mean, not huge by any means. Part of why it looks large in the photos is just, angle and perspective. But it was probably about 2 feet tall, which is honestly a decent size if you're talking about a relatively well-placed rock pile.
Yeah. See, this is why sandcastles don't bother me.
Because they disappear?
They're very transient. We have a number of different ways set up for you to get in touch with us to provide feedback, ask questions, or just comment in about something we've discussed.
You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at untitled_hosts, or shoot an email over to untitled.hosts@gmail.com.
Or get in touch directly with Jesse at jthart.com, or get in touch with me, John, via telepathy.
If you would like to support our work or are interested in listening to our new after show feed, head over to patreon.com/theUntitledPodcast and take a look at the options we have set up.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
And we hope to connect with more of you as we continue this journey.
That's a wrap.